Hello everyone, I'm Sean. I created this game called Asylum of the Doom. What I'm going to do here today is give you a brief overview of how you would play this game so that watching these videos that I'm going to have will make a little more sense. So basically, this is going to be a very quick little demonstration just to give you the absolute basics so that you kind of know what's going on. So starting up, everyone gets dealt a character at random. Let me note here that all of the things that you see before you are from a prototype that has been handmade by myself, and everything is being used here is just circumstantial. I don't have the complete visual prototype done, so symbols won't necessarily correspond to one another as they will with the finished game. So first things first, everyone gets dealt a certain number of cards throughout here. This will determine who you are, how you start, things like that. So everyone will get dealt a character card. My character card is the Too Cool for School guy, you can see that there. And it has down here at the bottom your base stats, so your movement, your maximum number of HP, so how much wound damage you can take before you die, the number of sanity cards you draw at the beginning of the game, the number of attack dice you get in combat, and the number of defense dice you get in combat, which will potentially be modified by any weapons you have, anything like that. For the sake of this display, any cards that I have in this area will be cards that would be in your hand or in your backpack, something that only you will be able to see, something that you don't want other players to see. So you don't want to give away, say, how much sanity you have or some of the things that you may be carrying in your backpack. You can equip items, which I'll put items or skills that are equipped up here, so you can kind of get a feel for how this is done. You get your corresponding little character, and you will start in whichever room of the lobby that you would like. I'm going to start here in the medical ward because that's how I've designed this setup. So, my character gets 3 sanity cards, which is drawn from the sanity deck at random. I have not actually seen these before this, so I will show you. I've got a 0, a 1, and a 1, so I effectively have 2 sanity. If I take 2 sanity damage or more, I will be insane, which will come into play with your personal objective, which I will show you one here that has both. So this would be your personal objective card. This is something for you and you only to see. You've got your sane objective here that you're trying to complete as long as you are sane. If you do go insane, you'll be trying to complete your insane objective down at the bottom. I won't be showing that for this game. Anyways, but that's something you keep to yourself, as well as your sanity total. You don't want other people to know if you've gone insane or not. There's a bit of deception involved here. The next thing, and the last thing that you do prior to beginning the game, is everyone will draw 2 cards from the well-lit deck, which is symbolized here by the sun symbol, and which is symbolized here by a full moon symbol, so a white circle. So you will draw cards that you'll look at until you get 2 cards that do not say reveal on them. So something here that says reveal sanity, you don't want that to start with. Anyways, this is a skill. This will be going into my hand. I can choose to play it at the beginning of the game and see people that I can, so people can see that I can dodge really well. The next card is another skill. So if I have 2 skills, I can only have 1 in play at a time. It's in the rules. I'm not going to get too much into it. So I won't play that one out. I'll just keep the dodge skill out. The encounter meter, which is pretty much a very integral part of the game, is something that needs to be kept, that people need to pay attention to as they play through the deck. I'll show you how that goes. Because the encounter deck, which can be cards from any of the 3 draw decks, will get shuffled into a deck at random as this counter meter goes up. So every time it reaches a tier, you put that number of encounter cards into the decks. So to show you how this works, on my first turn, I have... Okay, sorry, these gotta get shuffled back in. So on my first turn, I have 3 movement. I could move around, there's not really anywhere to go. So I'm going to try to explore. So I'm going to move this way because I can go that way. And into the medical ward, I get a corresponding tile that says medical ward. And I place it however I'd like. So any hallway can correspond to another hallway. This is the nurse's desk. It is a well-lit room, as symbolized here by this little circle. It is also a windowed room, as symbolized by the little window in the top right corner. And this little letter down here just lets you know what type of court or which type of wing it belongs to. So I explore the nurse's desk room. That effectively stops my movement. I can't go anywhere else, though I only spent 1 movement to go there. If I had items in my backpack, say if I had a weapon or an item I would like to take out of my backpack and equip or put into play or do anything with or use, whatever. If you're interacting with your backpack, it's going to cost you movement points for that turn. So say I wanted to pull this item out of my backpack and just hold it in my hand to be used at a later date. I could do that because I still had movement left. So I've moved into this tile. I now have to encounter this tile, which means I have to draw a card from the top of the corresponding draw deck, well-lit room, draw from the well-lit deck. Let's get one that's actually kind of fun. Okay, so I draw a reveal sanity card. So the fun part is to read the flavor text, to have fun with it, and just be a little silly. This sanity card is called Blood Flowing Down the Walls. And your character asks, is that fresh paint? Now you roll 2 dice to determine what happens, as listed here. I rolled a 6, so 5 to 10. That's blood! I take 1 sanity damage, because that creeped me the hell out. So we keep them here, just on your character or near your character, so people can tell that you've taken a sanity damage. And then you'll discard the card that came up. And the next player would take their turn. However many players you have, keep going. Once it comes back to your turn again, you get to move any possible direction. So you are going to continue to build the board as you go. So I'm going to continue down in the medical ward into the bloody group shower. That is a crescent moon here, which is the poorly lit room. Now the crescent moons, the poorly lit rooms, will advance the encounter meter by 1. So that would put the encounter meter token on stage 1. Now, as with last turn, I will encounter the poorly lit deck, which is being portrayed here by these cards. So I drew a skill called Rally. It says, we've got this. Once during your turn, use on yourself or another player in the same tile as you are in. It costs you 1 movement, but you heal 1 sanity. And as this is actually more useful for me right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this skill and I'm going to learn it, which is going to cause me to discard the old skill. So since I still actually have movement left, because it only cost me 1 movement to go there, I got 2 movement left, I'm actually going to use my rally skill. So I'm going to use it. You can turn it sideways to show that you've used it this round. It really doesn't make a difference because you can only do it on your turn. And I'm going to heal that 1 sanity damage, and I'll be a little more sane. Because if you remember, I only had 2 sanity total, which means I was halfway towards going insane. So my turn ends. I've got nothing more I can do. The next player goes. It comes back to me. So I'm going to move again. I'm just going to keep on exploring, trying to find a way out of the Asylum of the Doomed, which is aptly named, by the way. So I move to the next tile. This is a potential exit tile with a hallway with broken window. It's a solid black circle room. So you do two things with an exit room. First, you roll to see if the exit is open. On an 11 or 12, you've actually found an open exit. There are 3 potential exits, but 2 of which will always be sealed. So if you roll really lucky, which I didn't, you would have a way out. But in that case, I don't. So we put a sealed room tile, or sealed exit tile on that room. Now, I have to encounter the room, which is the pitch black deck, which is portrayed here by these black cards. And it was a good one. I found a silver letter opener, and that is a weapon that I can use. So I've got an item already in one hand. I can equip a weapon in my other hand. And in the rule book, you'll read this as time goes on. You are anatomically human. You've got 2 hands. You can kind of, when you pick something up, you can either toss it in your backpack real quick or swap out something already in your hand. That's not going to cost you any movement to just toss something back there. In this case, I just picked it up and I'm going to hold on to it. What it does is it will add +1 wound dice to my wound type attacks, but -1 knockout dice to my knockout type attacks. Now, during any combat, you can do one of 2 things. You can attack with a wound attack or a knockout attack. They're pretty straightforward. In the rules, they'll explain that. In the videos, you'll see how that kind of plays out. Even though we do play a little quick, given enough time, you'll actually pick that up. But this dagger is actually quite special. This little letter opener is quite special. It's because it is silver. It does give you +2 wound dice versus werewolves rather than just +1. Every time you use a weapon in combat, you have a chance to break it. So you have to roll a dice every time you use it. If you have a weapon equipped, you have to use it in combat. You can drop it before going into combat. Literally just throws it right on the ground, and anyone can pick it up as they go by. You may not pick up something you've dropped until your next turn. So everyone else has a chance to, potentially walk by and grab it. And so, but if I wanted to, I could have thrown it in my backpack because I just picked it up. It wouldn't be a big deal. And on my next turn, however, if I wanted to, if I moved back this way, and I said, damn, I want to put this in my backpack. Or let's do this the other way. I want to put this in my backpack because maybe there's a monster here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my backpack. It's going to cost me 1 movement because I had to pull my backpack out. I had to open it up, put it in there, seal it back up, put the backpack on. I'm going out here, and then I only get 2 more movement because my character has a base of 3 movement. So -1 to interact with the backpack, and 2 left. Anyways, so that is the basics of Asylum of the Doomed. Oh, actually, I did skip a part. When I encountered the pitch black room, that actually moved the encounter meter up by 2, which would then take a random encounter card from the encounter deck. So it's random. You shuffle it up. Usually you do this under the table so you don't know what kind of one you're grabbing. And boom. You take that, which this encounter, which is the wolf pack, gets shuffled in to the corresponding deck. That makes things start to get a little dicey. So as you get more and more encounters shuffled into the decks, more and more chances you have of encountering those things. So the encounters are things such as the escaped gorilla. When you encounter it, it spawns a certain number of tiles away from you. Let's give you an example here. So, get a little token for the monster. Now, when you draw the escaped gorilla encounter, it will happen immediately. The only difference is something that says hidden encounter, which is this. Hidden encounter will go into your backpack so other people don't know you have it. All of the hidden encounters will drive you insane in one way or another, and they will tell you what to do. Anyway, so the escaped gorilla encounter comes out. You hear heavy thuds in the distance. They're coming towards you. So you roll 2 dice, as it says here. The escaped gorilla spawns 2 to 12 tiles away and charges the nearest team. So he's going to spawn 5 tiles away. Luckily for me, there's 5 tiles on here. So he spawns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles away from the person that spawned him. Now, the gorilla is now a part of the game and gets its own turn, as well as any other encounter that is currently out or that continues to come out as the encounters are playing. Let's take, for example, I had 2 other players with me. I spawned the encounter. I went first. This actually is important. You need to keep track of who the first player was, because the encounters will go before the first player. Now, I spawned the gorilla. The 2 other players went off exploring, and I'm the closest person to the gorilla. Well, the gorilla has 5 movement, so he's going to come straight up to me on his turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the gorilla is going to attack me. This is where combat dice come into play. The gorilla has 5 wound dice. Let's play the gorilla as white. So the gorilla will be the white dice. So the gorilla is trying to attack me. So you roll dice. Now, what you're trying to do is compare successes. Successes are measured on a 5 or 6. So if you rolled a 5 or a 6, which it didn't, it would have a success in trying to attack me. If it did, let's say it had a 5. It had 1 success in trying to wound me, as the card states it's using a wound attack. Now, I have to defend. I have 4 defense dice, which is actually quite good. As the too cool for school guy, I'm good at defending myself. Anyway, so I roll 4 dice. I rolled 2 successes. I had more equal to or more defense successes than he had in attack successes. Therefore, I took no damage. So it comes to my turn, because the gorilla can't do anything else. I'm going to attack the gorilla. Now, I'm going to try to knock the gorilla out, because that just sounds like a really good idea. It's probably a little safer to try to make it so it can't do anything than to just stab at it, because this gorilla has 8 hit points. There's no way I can kill that thing anytime soon. So, I've got 4 attack dice. It has 4 defense dice. So I'm gonna try to knock it out. When you try to knock out, you have to overcome the defender's successes by 1 or more in order to render them unconscious. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll. I've got 1 success. In order to knock this gorilla out, he can't roll any successes. He, she, it, whatever. And look at that. He rolled 1 success. So the gorilla remains conscious, and the struggle continues as it tries to beat my head in, and probably will, because I doubt there's a single encounter in here that one person can take down by themselves. There is an aspect of teamwork that is necessary to this game. When the encounters start coming out, it is a prime opportunity for people to start working together, or people to start dying. You can also pick times like that to turn on your fellow teammates, because, say, I went insane and I wanted to get everyone else killed. There's a number of insane objectives that do something similar to that. Well, they're being distracted by the gorilla. I'm going to turn on one of them. And then I'm going to try to kill them. Who knows whether I'll succeed or whether they'll succeed in stopping me and stopping the gorilla and completing their own objectives. The overall goal for this game is for you to complete your objective. Regardless of escaping or not, your objective will tell you what you need to do. My objective for this game was Test of Strength. I had to defeat or help defeat an encounter monster before escaping the asylum. I have not found the exit yet. I don't have any other players here with me to help demonstrate this. But let's just say, okay, I defeated the gorilla, and this happened to be an exit. So I defeated the gorilla, and I need to make my way out. I do so, I get out of the asylum, I have successfully won the game. And any number of players can win or lose. I've had games where everyone's won, everyone's lost. Maybe one person's won and they managed to get everyone else killed, or one person managed to complete their objective and get out alive while everyone else was being eaten by rabid bear owls. So it's a very tricky game. Well, that's not true. It requires strategy. The game itself, as you play along, is very simple. You move, you encounter a tile, you draw a card, you do what it says. Pretty much rinse and repeat until you've completed your objective and you either get out or you don't. There is a good chance you will die. There's a good chance people will try to drive you insane and kill you. There's a good chance you might go insane and try to drive other people insane yourself. That's part of the replayability of this game. It is pretty much impossible to have the same game more than, twice ever. As you go along, the board will always be different. There's 24 different stereotypical teens you can play. I don't even know how many objectives anymore, because I've been adding to them as I've been producing this game. And there's ways of starting off insane that aren't even objective related. If I started with all zeros in my sanity cards, I could be insane from the start. So that's pretty much it. You just move along, you explore the game, and you try to complete your objective. There are play variants I'm not going to go into here. I'm trying to keep this simple. As you explore along, you'll continue to move the encounter meter along until it finally maxes out, and all of the encounter cards, all 15 of the encounter cards, are shuffled in to the decks. At that point, it gets scary, because at that point you probably have explored the entire asylum, and once you've explored the entire asylum, or you can no longer explore because it's all closed off, you will re-encounter any tile you land on. This happened in the short game that we played Friday morning, which I'll have a video for that up. And then you're left with options. You can at any point commit suicide on your turn and just say, okay, let's get this over with, let's start a new game. Or maybe your objective was to kill another teen and then commit suicide yourself. The murder-suicide is one of my more favorite insane objectives. And so you commit suicide on your turn. We kind of messed that up a little bit in the game, but nobody's perfect. So I will conclude this demonstration, and I hope this really helps, and I will get this up as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, guys.